Good morning. Welcome to this gathering of Unity of Bernie Online. I'm Reverend J. Mulkey, and I'm so glad that you're with us. I'd like for you to consider this time a time of peace and connection to your inner source, the source that's there for all of us, that is literally lives, moves, and breathes us. And just consider this a break on this chilly morning and this time of reflection. And today we'll be talking about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. And so I'd like to start with saying Happy Valentine's Day to you all. It's the day of the year that the Christian church speaks of Saint Valentine and his influence in the church and in the Catholic religion at large. But we celebrate Valentine's Day as a day of love and beauty. And so whoever it is that you have now or had, bring them to mind or bring them to you and tell them what a blessing they are to your life. Love is what it's all about. And it's about this that I'd like to be able to speak to you this morning. I generally start with a daily word, and this one I most in particular love. It is for Sunday, February 14th. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Sharing love is a wonderful way of discovering and responding to the divinity alive in every heart, binding us as a human family. My loving nature helps me see the best in every person whose life touches mine. Today, I remember one of the legends of Saint Valentine, in which he fashioned pieces of parchment into hearts, which he gave to others as tokens of his compassion and God's love. Today, the tradition continues when I say, "You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart," with a card, a gift, a call, or a simple act of kindness. I share love with no expectation of reciprocation, and my heart welcomes every expression of love from others. Love's energy grows through both giving and receiving. The scripture reading from Daily Word is from John 13th chapter, 34th verse. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. And in Jesus' day, there were a great deal of laws, and each of these laws had to be fulfilled, or otherwise you weren't doing it right. And the Master came to give us the greatest law of all, and it's really the law of life, to love. Love trumps everything else. Love is the essence and the very breadth and the very essence of who you are. I chose today the topic of the infinite way, and many of you will recognize that title as a book written by the wonderful Joel Goldsmith. I think it was way back in the late 50s. And Goldsmith talked about the infinite way as being something that love is, and we recognize it. And I like that, because so many times the spiritual life is considered a process of adding to. There are people that say, I've got religion, or he or she got religion, as if it was something that they added to themselves, saying that they weren't already perfect in metaphysics, in unity, in these teachings, we recognize our inherent perfection, and we cut away everything that's unlike it. And these things come to us, the things that we consider imperfections come to us from daily life and what we believe and what we are sensitive to. And even beyond love, I'd like to talk this morning about sensitivity, because it's a subject that I haven't heard spoken about in many messages. I gave one some years back where I touched on it, but I'd like to go a little deeper about that this morning. But anyway, Goldsmith talked about love is the ground of being, and not adding to something that God has to give you, but recognition of who you are and releasing those things that don't work. And sometimes, or many times, we have difficulty releasing things because we're so used to and accustomed to having them. They kind of run in the background like apps on your phone. They're refreshing constantly, especially when we have a memory that reminds us of something similar. It's like, here we go again. And so we're run on autopilot. And the spiritual life, I believe, is one that's dedicated to every moment. Every moment is fresh and new. No matter what you're going through, no matter the condition or the circumstance, you are new every moment because the moment is new. But to this matter of sensitivity, I'd like for you to think for a moment about what it means to be sensitive, to touch life at many points, to feel inside your heart, inside your very being, those things that touch you deeply. Sometimes, I know I have, we run from being vulnerable. And sensitivity is closely related to vulnerability, because it is the deepest part of what moves you. And there are many things in life that will move you, and you will feel maybe something unique to you that nobody else might feel in the same situation. Sensitivity is highly personal, and yes, there is such a thing as being overly sensitive to criticism and overly, concerned about what other people think and about how you live your life and what you do. That's one kind of sensitivity, and I'm not really talking about that this morning. I'm talking about those things that I say, take your breath away. Those things that are part of a life well lived and touch you uniquely. I believe that those things are there to teach you more about your inherent Christ self. In truth, sometimes I've heard it said that we can feel so small or in front of the great pillars of truth, that God is omniscient, omnipresent, and we create by our thoughts and go down the line, and it looks like, boy, we better get with it. But I believe the spiritual life, there is a wideness. There is a wideness to understanding. It's like we focus on one thing. We may focus on one or two principles of truth, but the whole thing put together makes for a beautiful life, wonderfully lived and wonderfully loved. And the things that you are sensitive to in a positive way, perhaps the beauty of the world, or the memories that you've made, the love that you've shared, the love that you've received. These are the things that temper you and make you who you are going forward. I can remember times of my life where I was touched deeply, and those moments are like brand new to me right now. I feel them over again just in memory, and I love to go back to them. Sometimes it's a little bittersweet, But it's worth it because it reminds me of a time that I felt fully alive and fully present in the moment. And after all, that's what a life well lived is. To be sensitive is to touch life at many points. It's the willingness to sometimes be so vulnerable and so in the moment that you forget who you are. You forget for a moment who you are. When you see something that moves you deeply or touches your spirit, all of a sudden, the things that have been in the forefront of your mind, whatever it may be, the irritations or the annoyances or whatever it may be of the day, they take a back seat to being in the moment because you are touched, moved, happy, or sometimes you're touched in a way that may bring tears to your eyes. But you're very present right in that moment. And you see, to me, sensitivity is feeling the love of God as you are experiencing the things that you feel sensitive to. You have that God energy behind you that's recognizing that principle of being in human form. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so I believe it's right to touch being human on many levels. This is your life and this is your experience. And it should be an adventure and a joy to you. And those things that touch you may not touch anybody else, although we're more alike than different in the things that move us. But some of us have things that are just unique to us. And I remember that I was extremely touched by a painting in a museum, and I was transfixed by it. I stood there in front of it, and I remember feeling like I wanted to both laugh and cry at the same time. And I moved to the side and looked at it. I stood in the front, then I moved to the other side. Then I walked around looking at other paintings, and I came back to that because it stirred something deep in me. It was a feeling. I was very sensitive to what the artist was trying to say. It was a picture of a young woman in the 1890s in a white sheer covering in springtime. I'll never forget it. And I took that feeling with me. And there are certain things today that when I see, they would take me back to that moment. You see, we have a wonderful recall system. We store spiritual memories and truths inside of ourselves without labeling it as such and knowing it. We are sometimes spiritual without even knowing it. In fact, all of us get up and live, move, and have our being in the flow of life. It's just some recognize it more than others. But back to that painting, that's just one. You can hear these lovely cats, because if I let them out, they'll jump on me, as I've told you, and if I close the kitchen, they're going to talk. And we love them, and they are enthusiastic. And I beg your indulgence, as it seems like they're tearing the door apart, but they're fine. Back to what I was saying, the wonderful computer, for want of a better word, that you have that stores these wonderful memories about yourself, about others, about the things that meant something to you in your life. These are the parts of wonderment of being human. And when you're sensitive, you're teachable. I mean, at that moment, I wanted to know more about that artist and that painting. And I found myself in a sense of wonder. And what I also noticed was my original persona that I walked with that day, or in times like that softened. I walked out of that museum in a reflective state of mind, sat on the edge of a fountain, and allowed what I know now is divine impressions to come through to me. So that one act of being sensitive to a beautiful work of art had its ramifications in my life for a week or more afterwards. And it helped color my perception. You see, the beautiful things of life make us, as well as the things that we say are negative or that I don't want to go through or wouldn't choose to go through. Now, I'm not saying that we should seek out on purpose challenges to our sensitivity and vulnerability and, all that. I believe life gives us plenty of opportunities on its own for us to practice this, for us to be engaged with whatever is in front of us. And so the infinite way that as I see it, is the way of love, what we celebrate today on Valentine's Day. The only way that ever works is the way of love, because it is the way of God, Spirit, Presence, or Source. The way of human understanding says I have to get, acquire, move, do any number of things on a purely physical, temporal level, and my life will be better. And that may well be. But when you're grounded in the root of your being, in the infinite, then you're willing to take a chance that faith, that you believe that Spirit is guiding you, because you've listened to those impulses that have moved you in the past and that are ever present inside you right now. And when you're doing that, you're in what's called the flow. But if you see life as something that needs to be conquered, and you need to beat, and you need to compete to win, then you miss so much, because you're hyper-focused on one thing. And that's wonderful if that's your goal, but we get so hyper-focused on one thing to the exclusion of others that we forget to live a life. Living a life, being sensitive, walking into the infinite way is a matter of recognition, acceptance of the moment, forgiveness of the moment, and then showing love as you walk forward. So the big three to me are acceptance, which has been called the first law of spiritual growth, and that's simply saying what is. I don't have to approve of it, like it, endorse it, any of that. It just is. The acceptance is seeing what is and calling it by its name. The next thing is to forgive if you need to in that moment. Let go of the condemnation or hurt that may be associated with what you have to accept. Be sensitive enough to your inner spirit's prompting to say, I can let this go and it's safe for me. And then to walk forward in love with a determination, or maybe that's not the best word, with a willingness to accept the many facets of life and know that life touches you at many points and will again. And you grow through everything that you have processed and that you understand. And the understanding that I'm talking about is the sense of realizing that you are an individuation of the Spirit of the Divine. You understand that because you accept the truth of your being. And that is, in Unity and New Thought, we talk about the Christ inside all. So when you look out at other people who may be expressing in ways that are less than positive, we still know that the Christ Spirit inhabits them too. In fact, in Unity, it was done some years ago, the greeting between Unity ministers or Friends of Unity was, the Christ Spirit in me salutes the Christ in you. Well, you see, we know that as the reality. And you see, to me, Christ was very sensitive to life. I think he touched life many points. He loved people. That was obvious. There is a great number of years that we don't know what he was doing. And I've read many things about this, where he was from the ages of 12 to 30. I like to think that he was growing into, it was Jesus, the man, growing into his Christ nature, and doing that through all types of contemplation and perhaps meditation and writing. I bet there are things that were written that we don't even know about, could have been lost in time. But that year, from 12 years old to 30, what was he doing? I think he was experiencing becoming the Christ, who could come back and touch people. And what did he say? The love is the greatest thing of all. It wasn't some spiritual practice or discipline. It was simply love. And he taught this in stories like the prodigal son, who most of you know lived a life of riotous, upset, and squandering away his inheritance from his father. And the stories of the father receiving the son back with open arms. And that's what God does. That's what truth does. The moment we recognize it, the moment we're sensitive to it. So sensitivity is being aware of what moves you and what really is the essence of your being, and embracing that. Empathy is what you give to others in a similar situation, especially if they're going through a hard time or suffering. I think sensitivity and empathy are very closely related. And when you can truly empathize with another, you can be present with them and what they're going through, and say, yeah, I've been there, and or no, I want to know more. Love is the willingness to extend ourselves for another's growth and for our own growth. If mental health is dedication to reality at all costs, and I believe that's true, love is the willingness to extend and allow someone to be who they are without any mandate that they please you. Control is not what we want to see in a love situation. Control is born from fear, and it is really disempowering. But when you can set the object of your love free to be all that they want and can be, then you are enabling and helping facilitate their spiritual growth, and you are being sensitive to the inner promptings that you know inside yourself are right. We know down deep, I believe this, we know by the feelings we have whether we're on the right track or the wrong one. And being on the wrong one is listening to a voice in your head that says you're not enough, you will never be enough, and look at what you did. As Don Miguel Ruiz said in his wonderful book, The Four Agreements, true justice is paying for a mistake one time, not over and over again. And sensitive people who are walking the path sometimes make themselves pay over and over again, because they realize later on, I could have done better, I should have done better, I would have done better. And we know that those things, those ideas are empty, because you can't would have done anything. You can't should have done anything. You could only walk forward with a sensitivity into the infinite way of being. And you can do that now. It doesn't take a whole long process. It takes a recognition And after that recognition, you'll have plenty of opportunities, plenty, to listen to this inner voice that speaks to you, that you know it's there because I've said, it's the voice that says, I sound like this. It cuts through the din of noise and upset past hurts, whatever. It's still, small, calm voice. And you listen to that. And then your life begins to work in different ways. And you see perhaps why you had to walk through what you did, why you chose to go a certain way. You become sensitive to yourself. Many people drive and push themselves through life so hard. They're very hard on themselves. I know I'm one of them who can do that at times. And I have to step back and look at the bigger picture and say, have I done what I can? Have I forgiven the moment? Am I sensitive to this moment? Have I listened to what is been Spirit's communication with me? And sometimes I find that I can go up higher, that I wasn't perfect, and you don't have to be. You just have to be willing. When you're sensitive, when you love deeply, you run the risk of being hurt. But if you don't, if you don't love deeply and you maintain like some people do, a very hard shell around you because you don't want to be vulnerable, you don't want to get hurt, and you walk through life in a stoic manner, you miss so much of the wonder and the majesty and the joy of living. So true life to me is the willingness to be moved by it. Be moved by your life. Allow yourself to step into the infinite with what I call the big three. Faith, well, I didn't say it. I called it this, but I'm certainly not the first one to say it. Big three: faith, hope, and love. It's right out of Hebrews in Christian Bible. And now abide these three things: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. So first, you have faith that what you don't see right now out there will manifest in some way because you're placing your attention and your power in it. Faith is really, it's a way we all live. But as I've drawn a distinction between faith, which is, we have faith that certain things are going to happen on a daily basis. Sun is going to come up and go down, and there's that. But there's another type of faith that I call faithing. It makes a verb of faith. To be faithing means to be actively participating in your good. So faithing means you do also the work that you're led to do that's in front of you. Faithing is not passive. You're part of the architect. You're part architect of your good. God will fill in those blanks when you have faith, the openness, and the willingness to take a chance, to be vulnerable, to be sensitive, to live in this moment and know that at times it may hurt. At times it may be something you don't want to go through. Look at us right now in our world. We see suffering, humanity in various forms, and we wonder what we can do. And alone, there's not a whole lot that we can do besides see rightly, pray earnestly, affirm that conditions will improve. But we also have to do the work behind what we affirm. We have to really see a healed world. And that gets a little far afield of what I'm talking about this morning. But there is no doubt that our world is in need of sensitive, loving people who are willing to extend themselves. It's wonderful to claim truth for yourself and to affirm a wonderful life, but it's also, I'd say, vital to wish that as much for everyone else as you do yourself, because when you do that, you are expanding the spirit that's in you. It becomes expansive and all-embracing and all-encompassing, and then you're a bigger version of yourself. You are recognizing you are love made manifest. On the day that we celebrate love, I want you to know that you're a living, breathing example of love. And that even though elements of our society get inside of us and tell us otherwise, we allow it because we listen to it by rote. It comes from the TV, the news, from other people that try and tell us that we are less than and we need something that they can give us. You are whole and wonderful, complete right where you are. There may be things you need to change, and you have the sensitivity and the insight to go inside and rectify what needs, remediate what needs remediation. You can do that. And I also like to say, and quote Don Miguel Ruiz, true justice is paying for a mistake once. How many times do we punish ourselves over and over and over again for the same mistake? It's as if, as Ruiz said, there's a parasite in our minds that feeds off of self-doubt and self-negation and self-abnegation. But with a correct knowledge of who we are, standing in truth, with a sensitivity to the wonderful spirit inside ourselves, and asking questions of that spirit, I believe it gives answers in many ways, through people, through events, through occurrences that happen that you may not be aware of at the moment. You're getting answers. It's just that you're sensitive to them now. So you can be sensitive to spirit, sensitive to yourself, and sensitive to others. So faith, hope, and love comprise the sensitivity I'm talking about. It's not broken up. Each one of them comprises the love. Faith is the evidence of things hoped for, a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. Hope is an attitude, and I've used this H-O-P-E, and I've said hope is holding on, praying expectantly. So you do your part, as I said earlier, do your part to bring about what you want to see, whether it's a better version of yourself or a goal that you want to achieve. You hold on and you pray expectantly. Kitty cats have really let me know about it this morning. Hope. And the greatest love, what we celebrate today. To love yourself, as Oscar Wilde said, is the beginning of a lifelong romance. I don't mean in an egotistical or arrogant way. I mean loving the presence that's in you and yourself, warts and all. And knowing that had you been known better in a situation, you would have done better. It's really letting yourself off the hook. And what a wonderful thing to do. Forgive yourself, love yourself, be sensitive enough inside you to do that. To live in love is to live in risk, not in the absolute, but in the temporal. When we love deeply, we risk being hurt. We risk having things not turn out. Relationships that we would like to, have go one way and then go another, and it hurts, and we get sad and so forth. Then we allow those things to color our perception. That's why I think God created the wonderful reality of now, because now is what we've got. Now is the working unit of our lives. And to, to me, it sounds as if this little guy is really hurting. And I know he's not. Come on. Yeah. It's very difficult for me to hear that. And I know it's hard for you too, but one of the things he likes to do is rub his head on the tripod, and let me know that he's here. This is a time that I'm sensitive to. I don't think I'll ever forget it. We're all gonna find good things about this time that has been hard for all of us. We'll look back and say, I don't know quite how I did it, but I did. And there'll even be some memories that we'll love and cherish. What I'd like to tell you today is live in love. Be sensitive to who you are and what moves you. That's life. That's what's in front of you. To walk into the infinite way is the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to be hurt, but most of all, the willingness to extend yourself to be a better version of who you are. And it's my wish for you on this Valentine's Day that you recognize the love you are and honor and appreciate the love you receive. Not in a maudlin way. Sorry, I got a message that said it was trying to reconnect. These are really challenging times. But I do believe we'll look back and say there were things that I really enjoyed, or things that I remember with a smile on my face. Know that you're living love. Be willing to extend that love. And know that as you hold yourself and others, you are being held by the arms of a God that loves you more than you could ever know. And you're here on purpose, and you're here for a reason. And I'd like right now for us to take a moment to have some meditation. You know, there's music in the background. It's some of my favorite to sit down and, just allow Spirit to have its way inside me. And so, wherever you are right now, whatever posture you're in, I would invite you to be aware of your surroundings. For instance, your feet are on the floor, or hands are in your lap. Some people like to turn their palms up, and as a sign of receptivity to Spirit. But whatever's comfortable for you, I invite you right now to join me in this meditation. Taking a few deep breaths and releasing them. Being aware and present. We see a golden ball of light above our head. And as we see this, we feel it. It starts at the top of our head, and it comes down in a warm, wonderful feeling of healing and transformation. The warmth of this love that is represented by this golden ball of light fills us in our mind first, and then goes down through our neck and shoulders, and it heals those places that need healing. It fills in the blanks or the hurt spots, and we feel it go down through our bodies, in our midsection, in our legs, all the way to our feet. We take deeper breaths. We recognize that in this now moment we are given, we release those things that don't work for us. And we know that because in this precious moment, Spirit points it out to us. We are made knowledgeable of everything we need to know in this moment. We're mighty and strong. We're powerful, but we're also sensitive and willing to be vulnerable to the truth. It points out to us the things inside us where we can come up higher and where we can release. We are present in the moment. Our knowledge and awareness of this moment is perfect, no matter what's gone before us or what is to come. Present right now. The feeling of centered connectedness with our source. We forgive those things which need forgiveness. We let them go. And we receive a new power by our recognition of what's inside us right now, no matter what we feel, what we've done, what we think. We allow this Spirit to have its way with us and to take those things away that are not for our highest good and replace them with wisdom and peace and joy and every fruit of the Spirit. And in this loving place, we claim our strength, strong enough to be vulnerable and sensitive to life, strong enough to forgive ourselves and others, and refreshed enough to believe in our best life to come by holding our intention to be the change we want to see in ourselves and in our world. Take a big deep breath and we say, this is so. And so it is. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for understanding that the kitties will be kitties. In fact, I think they may have some things to say more than I do by their presence. To me, they're pure, unconditional love, even though they do some things that can be irritating. I'd like you also to know, and I'm sure you do, because I've said it before, Unity of Bernie relies on your free will gifts and tithes and offerings. At this time, in this extraordinarily challenging time, we need your help so we can continue to do ministry. We can continue to offer the things that we have done in this time. As I said, it's been an extraordinarily challenging time for everyone. but we're here. And by the gift of grace, we walk on into a new experience. And to do that in our ministry, in our programs, it takes money. Nobody likes to talk about it. I know no minister I know of likes to have to say we, need tithes, offerings, and help, but especially during this time, we do. Until we recongregate, until we have the chance to be together again, we have this venue and this forum, and so we need your help. And I invite you today to press the PayPal button and give the best gift you can. And if you don't want to do it through PayPal, you can send your gift to Unity of Bernie, P.O. Box 1973, Bernie, Texas 78006. I'll say that one more time, and I think it's on the information below below this video. Unity of Bernie, P.O. Box 1973, Bernie, Texas 78006. We know, and it is a divine truth, that as we give, we receive. We plant a seed, and we expect a harvest, and it comes. The divine law of giving and receiving. What you give comes back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, as Christian scripture says. So today, please give your best gift, and know that you are, from your heart, what you give from your heart is charged with love and returns to you many times over. And now, I would invite you to take the gift in your hand, like this, or whichever way is comfortable, and repeat the blessing, the affirmation of giving and receiving. And it is this: divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I send it forth with my blessings and my love. It's been wonderful to be with you today. I love each and every one of those that are in my congregation, and the friends that I've yet to make and meet in person that we know will be coming to Unity of Bernie, because they've said so throughout our online venues. I look so forward to meeting you. Look so forward to that moment when we can show the love to one another the way that we do in Bernie. I call it the house that love built. It's something you have to experience. The people who have come, even visitors that are there only once, say there's something very unique here, very special, and I wish that I could stay longer. I know I'm doing an advertisement, but I'm telling you, it is great. It's wonderful. Come be a part of us. Come be a part of a wonderful group of people that uphold and live out the mission statement, by the way, which is Unity of Bernie is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. And we do. And now, until I meet you, see you again, know this: the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Namaste, and may God richly bless you.